How are you, Raiders family? It's Bourkeys here, and welcome to my pre-match Round 19 game against the Panthers in just over 3 hours' time on this Sunday afternoon. Thanks for joining my top 10, guys. Look, another massive game this week. Quite frankly, a real season-defining game for our top four chances. So this is a must-win for us. Looking at the next month, we've got around the Warriors away next week into the Roosters at home, then back out to the Storm in Melbourne over the next 4 weeks. So this type of game against a very good side finishing fast is a must-win. And away from home, I think it's just going to galvanise us fairly well by just being one unit. Big crowd at Penrith, nearly a sellout. Smallish Raiders supporters, whilst large in voice, will certainly be outweighed by the Panthers mob. So it's really one of those backs against the wall type of game, but I think we're up for this one and looking forward to it immensely. Look, let's dive into the top 10. A little bit different this week with a couple of things. But let's look at the Panthers. The first one I've gone is for James Maloney on the good side for Penrith. I've also got him on the good side for us, but I'll cover that later on. So Maloney's obviously going to be their kingpin. He may not be captain, but he'll run the show. He's going to be their main kicker. So once again, we need to really get good pressure from marker with him and Cleary, but more so Maloney. And he's also going to be their chief organiser. The big thing with Maloney is he does play very slow and he likes to go wide early on his left edge. But obviously with no kick out this week, it does take away their impactness on that left edge remarkably a lot. They've got Isaiah Yeo now on that left edge, who whilst he's strong, he's certainly by no way or means any kick out. So they do lose a fair bit with that left edge attack today, which is awesome for us. It means we can go up and put a lot of pressure on Maloney, but he's going to be very wary, and he's certainly going to kick for our corners a hell of a lot, try and turn Simonson around, and those guys. So we need to be aware of it, and make sure that we don't overcommit to the edges, and just make sure that we don't overplay Maloney hitting those edges as much as possible. Cleary's number 2. Obviously a couple of games back now. Once again, the big thing with Cleary, he will play into the line. Maloney will not play into the line as much as Cleary. So we've got to put a lot of pressure on Cleary and take away his speed. He's particularly dangerous 25, 30 minutes into the half, where he starts to look for some lazy ruck workers. That's where he tries to go in dummy, a show and go dummy, one off the ruck, dummy and go, dummy and go. So we've really got to make sure our markers push across, up and push across. So we put pressure on the inside. Manager wants to go back on the inside, but we also take his time management off him as well. Also with Cleary, he'll be their second choice kicker, probably more than bombs, more than the long distance kicks. So once again, we've really got to get up and put a lot of pressure on him from markers and be aware of the inside ball that Cleary throws a lot to Dylan Edwards at fullback a lot. Number 3, I've gone for Fisher Harris, a real mongrel in the ruck. And what I've noticed with the Panthers the last couple of weeks, when they're attacking the opposition's line, they usually go to Fisher Harris with a short ball. 9 times out of 10, they don't play out the back to Maloney or Cleary. The dummy half will hit Fisher Harris short, like the Hodgson Papali type of move. They'll try and do that with Fisher Harris. Invariably gets a quick play of the ball, so he's very good on getting a quick play of the ball with that momentum. And then they hit Maloney or Cleary out the back, or Tarnow on the inside close to our line. So we've just got to be awake to Fisher Harris, particularly close to the line. And he's probably their main aggressor with Campbell Gillard coming off the bench. So Fisher Harris likes to stir things up a bit. The thing with Fisher Harris, which is a bonus, he does like to give away penalties. He's very ill-disciplined at some stages of the game, and you can milk 2 or 3 penalties from him as well throughout the 80 minutes. So we just need to be aware that he can be overzealous and really lose his discipline if we can get into his head a little bit. Number 4, I've gone for Josh Mansour. I don't usually do wingers a lot, but I think this guy's a weak link for Penrith. I think high balls and bombs, he's not very safe under the high ball at all. He's a big confidence player as well. So once again, if we can try and get a couple of errors from him early, he usually fades out of the game. Very good taking the ball up one off the ruck, and he does bring the ball back very well from sweeping. He doesn't go back into the markers. He actually runs wide and draws the markers over to him. So we've really got to be aware of his first hits off the ruck. He'll do a fair bit of that, sometimes 2 or 3. So we just got to be aware of him doing those first rucks and take, once again, as I said, get up. Line speed's very important. So let's come to the Raiders. Number 5, I've gone for James Maloney. Weird, I know, but I can see Maloney being a real positive for us today. His pimp kick out isn't playing. So once again, their attack on that left edge becomes a little less impactful, but Maloney's tackles or his tackling is not of sometimes 5'8" standard in the competition. He misses a lot of tackles. He jersey grabs, and I think our attack today needs to be around our right edge. So Bateman, Tarpany, Caesar. I think Nickel Clockstack really needs to come into our right edge today to really work Maloney over with 2 or 3 efforts and make him make a play out of the line. So I think this is a positive for us in attack today by going at Maloney as much as possible, particularly with no kick out. I think there's a lot of yards and a lot of opportunities down our right edge today to try and open him up, tire him out as well, and really make him commit or jump out of the line to try and do a big hit. Number 6, I've gone for our edges. I really think today we can really impact Penrith on our edges. So as I said, Bateman on the right, the likes of Elliott and Jarrod on that left edge. I think the Panthers are very vulnerable on the edges. Penrith like to play it through the middle, and they also, against sides that like to play through the middle, they like to intimidate with your Fisher Harris, Campbell Gillard's coming off the bench. I think we've got to be smart here today and really play 1 or 2 wide, either left or right, to make them chase. We don't want to get bogged down in that middle third. I think today, our opportunities are wider. Our kicking game is critical today. Dylan Edwards is not one of the greatest fullbacks returning the ball. He's solid, but he's very slow once he gets the ball to get yardage. So we've got to get some really good kick chase with Jack, Jarrod, Bailey, Jordan. Those guys have got to get up and put a lot of pressure on their back 3, who I don't think are certainly not the best back 3 from kick returns into the competition. I think if we can have a really good kick with good chases and have Panthers working the ball out from their line or their 10-metre area, that's going to give us some really good momentum to hold them in and force Cleary and Maloney to be kicking from the 30-metre line or the 40-metre line, somewhere like that, to give us that yardage to come out and get that field position. But I think our kicking game's really critical today, as always, to the corners. Number 8, I've gone our running numbers. Penrith are not very good in defence when sides are coming with 2 or 3 guys in attack. So Hodjo's running game, we've got to win that ruck. If Hodjo can have some momentum taking the ball up with runners either side, Penrith are not very good in picking left and right runners, inside balls and so on. So if we can have, as I said, win that ruck and gives us some momentum with our attack, have Jack running with the ball from a long ball from Hodjo, Aiden taking the line on with runners inside, for example, Nickel Clockstaff, and then outside with Bateman or someone. Penrith are not very adept at picking numbers in their defence. I noticed it a fair bit last week when they played, or the last couple of weeks really. They get lost in translation with who's taking who. I think our offloads at number 9 are very important for our second phase today against the Penrith side that, once again, they've got a very slow, cumbersome middle. They're not very, they're a big pack, but they're not very good laterally. So a lot of inside balls from Hodjo. Nickel Clockstaff's work around dummy half. Simonson running the ball up wide and then bringing attackers or bringing their market defenders across is really important. I think if we can get some offloads happening early, it's just going to put Penrith on the back foot. So we need a lot of support around that ball play. We need Papa trying to offload, Tarpany, those types of guys. And number 10, I've gone for the fast start. With a big crowd at Penrith, the big way to silence a big crowd away from home is first points. Try, penalty goal, it just takes that momentum out of the crowd. Penrith, when the crowd gets into it, they're a 6 to 10 point better side. But if we can get a really fast start with good line speed, really good 1%ers, the kick chase and no errors, we'll just about win this game today. And we'll get in the Panthers' head as well that they'll be playing desperate football. They're going to be a lot more desperate than us from where they are on the table. So we've got to be ready for an ambush really early. If we can absorb that first 10 to 15 minutes and put some points on ourselves, as I said, it just takes that impact of the crowd totally out of the game and let us just run our own agenda. So Raiders fans, that's it for today. As always, I would love your support on my Bourkeys Top 10 Facebook page, on Twitter at Bourkeys Top 10. You can subscribe now through my YouTube channel at Bourkeys Top 10. All your big podcasts are there as well. So hook up on your potty and listen to this on the travels to or from the game today. And as always, guys, this is Bourkeys, bleed green, out.